I found the Raising Cane's experience to be fairly remarkable as someone from the Northeast with no access to Raising Cane's, so let's talk about it. We ended up grabbing quick takeout at the end of our first full day in Anaheim. This day started off with a fairly large character breakfast buffet in Disneyland, and yes, we hit that hard. Then throughout the day in Disneyland, we did just a little snacking in the park. One thing we had was Moncala blue milk at the Star Wars area, and there was this special soul food demo in the park. We split the themed dish that they had there, which had spicy honey glazed chicken tenders with mac and cheese, collard greens, and a sweet potato cornbread. It was very good, and the sweet tea was pretty nice, spiked with hibiscus. We didn't want to eat a full meal in the park because that gets expensive, but we did need something later at night, so we stopped at Raising Cane's, which was right in between Disneyland and our hotel. It was pretty late, after 8:30 p.m., and this place was packed. The first thing I noticed is that their menu is really simple. Really just 4 combos, 3, 4, or 5 chicken tenders, and a chicken sandwich. All come with their sauce, fries, coleslaw, and a griddled New England hot dog bun, which they call Texas toast. Oh, and a drink. And there's a kids meal option as well. And kind of a funny aside at this stage, we took everything back to the hotel, and Noah literally crashed before touching his. But he was up at something like 4 a.m. the next day, which is 7 a.m. Eastern, and he decided to completely smash his portion, which he gave a rave review. As I dug into mine, I was expecting this to be completely average. I of course had to get my Coca-Cola Zero, and the crushed ice is an absolute favorite. Opening up my order though, again, there's really nothing special to look at. Crinkle fries, which you know I'm not a huge fan of in general. Looking at the sauce, I figured it was just like a mass-produced ketchup mayo dressing combo thing, and it ended up being much more. And honestly, the chicken tenders looked as average as can be. So that's where I started. I dunked the chicken tender and I got a good amount of the sauce, and then I took a bite. And alright, I get it now. The sauce is almost indescribable. The first thing to note is that it's a lot more peppery than it looked at first glance. Looking at it again, I can see it's heavily spiked with pepper, so I went in a little too casual into this one, guys. It's also got really tangy sweetness to it, almost like a sweet chili sauce, but much tangier. Really hard to describe, but I totally understand why they're so stingy with it, and why they essentially count it as a side. Another important note here, even though we had a 10-minute trip from the restaurant to the room, everything stayed crispy within the clamshell and plastic bag. That's noteworthy. The tenders themselves are also noteworthy. Definitely the chicken tender part of the bird. Some restaurants give you breast and call it tenders. Definitely not the case here. These are clearly marinated and then coated in a super savory and seasoned flour coating. Crispy, crunchy, it's good. Like I said, crinkle fries are usually a letdown, but these come nicely salted, almost brined, and then you can totally dip it in the cane sauce and elevate it. The coleslaw deserves a quick nod because we were making a mess. Creamy, crunchy, everything you want. Texas toast was a bit of a disappointment, and I'd argue not really necessary. Interestingly, I've never seen New England style buns like this with sesame seeds on them. I gotta look for those. I definitely enjoyed Raising Cane's a lot more than I expected I would.